I supported my girlfriend financially for 5 years, until I discovered she was using my money to build a secret life with another man. I confronted her at her birthday dinner in front of all our friends with the hotel receipts where she'd been meeting him. The look on her face when I revealed I'd already emptied our joint accounts was worth every penny I'd wasted on her. It was a typical Friday evening in late September. I was sitting at our kitchen island, scrolling through our credit card statement while Angela was getting ready for dinner. The warm glow of the setting sun filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows across the granite countertop. The apartment smelled of her expensive perfume, the one I'd bought her for Christmas last year. "Babe, can you book those flights to Bali tonight? The price will probably go up if we wait until next week," she called from the bedroom. I nodded absent-mindedly, even though she couldn't see me. "Sure thing." My finger stopped scrolling when I saw it. A 4:37 charge at the Grand Plaza Hotel, downtown. I frowned. We hadn't stayed at any hotel recently. I clicked on the transaction for more details. Room service, champagne, a Thursday afternoon 3 weeks ago when Angela had told me she was at a work conference. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. This wasn't the first strange charge I'd noticed. There had been unexplained restaurant bills, Uber rides to addresses I didn't recognize, and shopping sprees that Angela had never mentioned. For months, I'd been pushing away the suspicion growing in the back of my mind. But now, staring at this hotel receipt, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Angela walked into the kitchen, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She looked stunning in a new black dress that I didn't recognize, probably another purchase I had unknowingly financed. "Ready to go?" she asked, not really looking at me. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. It hadn't for months now. She was checking her phone, thumbs moving quickly across the screen before she tucked it into her purse. "Who are you texting?" I asked casually. "Just Melissa about tomorrow's brunch?" The lie came easily to her, without hesitation or a flicker of guilt. That's when I knew for certain. After 5 years together, I could tell when she was lying. I closed my laptop slowly. "Yeah, I'm ready." We went to dinner at her favorite Italian restaurant. I watched her across the table as she sipped her wine and talked about work. I nodded and smiled at all the right moments, but my mind was elsewhere. I was mentally cataloguing all the times over the past year when things hadn't quite added up. The girls' trips that seemed to happen more frequently, the late nights at work that didn't match her position's typical hours, the new clothes and accessories that appeared in our closet without explanation, the way she guarded her phone, always keeping it face down or in her purse, and the money, so much money, flowing out of our accounts. I had always been the higher earner, and from the beginning of our relationship, I'd covered most of our expenses. At first, it was because she was finishing her degree, then it was because she was starting her career and needed to build her savings. Eventually, it just became our normal. I paid the rent, the utilities, most of our vacations, and even gave her a credit card on my account for emergencies. Over the past year, those emergencies had become increasingly frequent and expensive. After dinner, I suggested we walk along the riverfront before heading home. The night air was cool and the city lights reflected on the dark water. It was beautiful, but I barely noticed. My mind was racing, trying to decide what to do next. "So about Bali," Angela said, linking her arm through mine. "I was thinking we could stay at that resort I showed you, the one with the private infinity pools." "That's the one that's like $600 a night, right?" I asked, knowing exactly how much it cost. "Yeah, but it would be so worth it." She squeezed my arm. "You work so hard. You deserve to splurge a little." I almost laughed at the irony. She had become an expert at framing her desires as gifts to me. "I'll think about it," I said, non-committally. That night, after she fell asleep, I took her phone from the nightstand and went to the living room. I had seen her enter her passcode countless times, and she hadn't changed it in years. 1298, her brother's birthday. What I found confirmed everything. Messages with a man named Michael going back almost a year. Plans to meet at hotels, discussions about their future together. Complaints about me, how boring and predictable I was, how I was just her meal ticket until they could be together openly. There were even messages from earlier that evening, sent while we were at dinner. She had excused herself to use the restroom and had texted him, "Dinner with the ATM, wish I was with you instead." The ATM. That's what I had become to her. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to myself, and I put her phone back exactly where it had been and went to sleep on the couch, claiming I didn't want to disturb her with my insomnia. The next day, I began my investigation in earnest. I pulled all our financial records for the past year. Credit card statements, bank transactions, everything. The picture that emerged was worse than I had imagined. Angela had been systematically draining our finances to build a life with Michael. There were transfers to a separate account I knew nothing about. Expensive gifts charged to my credit card that I had never seen, likely gifts for him. Weekend getaways to nearby cities during her supposed work trips or girls' weekends. One particularly large withdrawal had been made just 3 weeks ago, $15,000 from our joint savings account. When I had asked about it at the time, she claimed it was for an investment opportunity through her work. I had trusted her. I discovered she had even been paying half the rent on an apartment across town, presumably where Michael lived or where they met. All with my money. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed to be smart about this. I needed a plan. First, I consulted a lawyer. Angela and I weren't married, which simplified things legally, but we had lived together for years and had intertwined our finances. I needed to know where I stood. Next, I opened new bank accounts in my name only. I began slowly moving my direct deposits and automatic payments to these new accounts. I documented everything, every suspicious transaction, every lie about her whereabouts that I could prove, every screenshot of her conversations with Michael. I created a detailed spreadsheet of all the money she had essentially stolen from me, which totaled over $87,000 in the past year alone. All the while, I maintained the facade of our relationship. I continued to pay for dinners, listen to her stories about work, and discuss our future plans, including that trip to Bali she was so eager to take. "We should invite some friends to dinner for my birthday next week," Angela suggested one evening as we were watching TV. "Maybe reserve that private room at Costello's?" Costello's was one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. A private room would cost thousands. "Great idea," I said, smiling. "Who do you want to invite?" She rattled off a list of our mutual friends, and I nodded along, already formulating my plan. Her birthday dinner would be the perfect stage for what I had in mind. "I'll take care of everything," I assured her. And I did. I booked the private dining room at Costello's. I invited all our friends. I even ordered a custom cake with her favourite flavours. The week before her birthday, Angela's demands became increasingly extravagant. She wanted a new dress for the occasion. She hinted heavily about a particular diamond bracelet she had been eyeing. She even suggested that I should buy a new suit so we would look good together in photos. "And don't forget to book Bali," she reminded me daily. "The prices really are going up." I agreed to everything with a smile. I bought her the dress. I purchased the bracelet. I even bought myself a new suit. What she didn't know was that I had also been busy with other preparations. I had withdrawn all the money from our joint accounts, leaving only enough to avoid overdraft fees. I had cancelled the joint credit cards or removed her as an authorised user. I had packed up my essential belongings and moved them to a storage unit. I had signed a lease on a new apartment, and I had compiled all the evidence of her betrayal into a neat, undeniable package. The night of her birthday dinner arrived. Angela spent hours getting ready, trying on her new dress and admiring how the diamond bracelet sparkled on her wrist. I dressed in my new suit and told her how beautiful she looked. We arrived at Costello's, where our friends were already waiting in the private dining room. Everyone exclaimed over Angela's outfit and jewellery. Champagne was poured, appetizers were served. Angela was in her element, the centre of attention, laughing and flipping her hair as she accepted compliments and birthday wishes. I played the role of the devoted boyfriend perfectly. I kept her champagne glass filled. I had my arm around her shoulder as we posed for photos. I even gave a toast to my amazing girlfriend and our future together. As the main course was being served, Angela's phone buzzed with a text. She glanced at it surreptitiously, then excused herself to use the restroom. I knew she was texting Michael, probably complaining about having to spend her birthday with me and our friends instead of with him. While she was gone, I nodded to the waiter. He brought out a large gift box that I had dropped off earlier that day. "What's that?" asked our friend Melissa when Angela returned. "Just a special birthday gift," I said with a smile. "Angela, why don't you open it now?" She looked pleased and a little surprised. "You already got me the bracelet. You didn't have to get me anything else." "Oh, but this is special," I insisted, pushing the box toward her. "Go ahead, open it." She untied the ribbon and lifted the lid. Inside was a smaller box, and inside that, another, and another, like Russian nesting dolls. Our friends laughed, thinking it was a cute gimmick. Angela's smile became a bit strained as she continued opening box after box. Finally, she reached the last box. It was small, like a jewellery box, and for a moment I saw hope and greed flash in her eyes, probably expecting a ring or earrings to match her bracelet. Instead, when she opened it, she found a USB drive and a folded piece of paper. "What's this?" she asked, her voice suddenly cautious. "Why don't you read the note?" I suggested calmly. She unfolded the paper. It was a detailed account of all the money she had taken from me over the past year to fund her relationship with Michael. The hotels, the gifts, the apartment, all of it, with dates and amounts. At the bottom, I had written, "The USB contains all the evidence, including your text messages with Michael. I particularly enjoyed the ones where you call me your ATM." The colour drained from her face. She looked up at me, then around at our friends, who were watching with confusion. "I don't understand," she said weakly. I smiled. "I think you do, Angela. But in case you need clarification, let me help. For the past year, you've been using my money, tens of thousands of dollars, to build a life with someone named Michael. You've been meeting him in hotels, paying for his apartment, and planning your future together, all on my dime." The table fell silent. Our friends looked shocked, glancing between us uncomfortably. That's not true," Angela stammered, but her face told a different story. "It is true, and we both know it," I said, still maintaining my calm. "What you don't know is that I've known about it for weeks. I've seen all the messages, I've tracked all the money, and I've taken appropriate action." "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I mean that I've removed you from all our accounts and credit cards. I've moved out of our apartment, and I've documented every penny you've stolen from me in case I need to take legal action." She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "You can't do that," she finally managed. "I already have," I replied. "Check your banking app if you don't believe me." She fumbled for her phone, her hands shaking so badly she could barely enter her password. When she finally opened her banking app, the colour that had started to return to her face drained away again. "What did you do?" she whispered. "I protected myself," I said simply. "Something I should have done a long time ago." One of our friends, David, cleared his throat awkwardly. "Maybe we should give you two some privacy." "No need," I said. "I've said everything I came to say. The bill for tonight has been prepaid, including a generous tip. Please, enjoy the rest of your evening." I stood up, buttoning my suit jacket. "Oh, and Angela, happy birthday. The bracelet is cubic zirconia, by the way. I thought it was fitting. Beautiful, but fake, just like you." As I walked out of the restaurant, I heard the commotion behind me. Angela's voice rose in pitch as she tried to explain, to justify, to blame me. Our friends confused and disapproving murmurs. Someone calling my name, asking me to come back. I didn't look back. I walked to my car, got in, and drove to my new apartment. The aftermath was predictably messy. Angela tried everything: tearful apologies, angry accusations, threats of legal action, pleas for another chance. She showed up at my workplace. She bombarded me with calls and texts. She even enlisted some of our friends to reach out on her behalf. But I held firm. I had all the evidence I needed to prove what she had done. When she threatened to sue me for the money I had stolen from our joint accounts, my lawyer simply presented her with the documentation of how she had been systematically draining those same accounts to fund her affair. She quickly backed down. Without my financial support, Angela's lifestyle crumbled quickly. She couldn't afford the rent on our apartment alone. Her credit cards were maxed out, and apparently Michael wasn't interested in supporting her the way I had. I heard through mutual friends that he ended things with her when he realized the money train had stopped. It seemed he had been just as interested in my money as she was. In the months that followed, I rebuilt my life. I focused on my career, reconnected with friends I had neglected during my relationship with Angela, and started therapy to understand why I had allowed myself to be used for so long. I learned that I had been equating financial generosity with love, believing that if I provided everything, I would be loved in return. I had confused taking care of someone with being valued by them. It was a painful lesson, but a necessary one. About 6 months after the birthday dinner showdown, I ran into Melissa at a coffee shop. She hesitated when she saw me, then came over to my table. "How are you doing?" she asked cautiously. "I'm good," I said, and meant it. "Really good, actually." She nodded, looking relieved. "We all felt terrible, you know. None of us had any idea what was going on." "I know. It's not your fault." She twisted her coffee cup nervously. "Have you heard about Angela?" I shook my head. I had deliberately avoided seeking information about my ex. She moved back in with her parents, in Ohio, I think. She tried to keep up appearances for a while, but Melissa shrugged. "Without you bankrolling everything, I guess reality hit hard." I nodded, surprised to feel no satisfaction at hearing about Angela's downfall, just a quiet relief that she was out of my life. What about you? Melissa asked. Are you seeing anyone new? I smiled. Not yet. I'm taking some time to figure out what I actually want in a relationship. Turns out, being someone's ATM isn't as fulfilling as I thought. She laughed, then looked embarrassed. Sorry, it's not funny. No, it is in a way, I assured her. If you can't laugh at your mistakes, you're doomed to repeat them. After Melissa left, I sat in the coffee shop for a while longer, thinking about how much had changed in 6 months. I had lost a 5-year relationship, but I had gained something more valuable: self-respect. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the keychain Angela had given me for our first anniversary. I had kept it all this time, even after everything. It was nothing special, just a simple silver keychain with my initial on it, but I had carried it as a reminder of the lesson I had learned. I looked at it one last time, then dropped it into the trash can on my way out of the coffee shop. I didn't need reminders anymore. I knew my worth now, and it wasn't measured in dollar signs or what I could provide to someone else. As I walked out into the sunshine, I felt lighter than I had in years. The future stretched before me, uncertain but full of possibility. And for the first time in a long time, I was excited to see what it held, not for me and someone else, but just for me. A few weeks later, I received a package in the mail with no return address. Inside was the diamond bracelet I had given Angela for her birthday. The real one, not the cubic zirconia I had told her it was in my parting shot. That had been a lie, a small act of petty revenge in the heat of the moment. With the bracelet was a note in Angela's handwriting. I'm sorry, you deserved better. I looked at the bracelet for a long moment, then placed it and the note in a drawer. Not as a keepsake, but as a reminder that people can surprise you, sometimes with their capacity for deception, and sometimes with their capacity for growth. I never responded to the note. Some chapters are better left closed. Instead, I made a donation in the exact amount of the bracelet's value to a financial literacy program for young adults. It seemed fitting, turning something that had been part of a deception into something that might help others avoid similar situations. As for me, I continued building my new life. I traveled, including a solo trip to Bali, staying at that resort with the private infinity pools. I advanced in my career. I made new friends and strengthened relationships with old ones. I even started dating again, cautiously and with clearer boundaries. But most importantly, I learned to be generous without expecting love in return, and to recognize love that didn't come with a price tag. It wasn't always easy, and I made mistakes along the way, but I was moving forward. One evening, about a year after the birthday dinner confrontation, I was having drinks with David, who had been at that fateful night. We had remained friends, one of the few relationships that had survived the fallout. You know, he said, swirling the ice in his glass, I've always wondered about something. What's that? I asked. That night, at Angela's birthday dinner, you were so calm, so prepared. You must have known for weeks what was going on, but you waited for that specific moment to confront her. Why? I considered his question. I guess I wanted her to feel what I felt, to have something she thought was secure suddenly pulled away. She took my trust, my generosity, my love, and used them against me. I wanted her to experience that same betrayal, publicly and undeniably. David nodded slowly. Fair enough, though I have to say it was both the most uncomfortable and most impressive thing I've ever witnessed. I laughed. Not my proudest moment maybe, but necessary. For both of us, really. How do you figure? She needed to face consequences for her actions, and I needed to stand up for myself, to show myself that I could. David raised his glass. Well, here's to standing up for yourself, and to not being anyone's ATM. I clinked my glass against his, smiling. I'll drink to that. Later that night, as I walked home under a sky full of stars, I thought about how far I had come. The pain of Angela's betrayal had faded, replaced by gratitude for the lesson it had taught me. I had learned to value myself beyond what I could provide, to recognize real connection, and to understand that true generosity comes without expectations. I reached my apartment building and paused before going inside, looking up at the night sky. In that moment, I felt completely at peace with my past and hopeful for my future. Angela had taken my money, but in the end, I had gained something far more valuable, the knowledge of my own worth and the strength to protect it. And that was something no one could ever take from me again.